I call to order this regular Board of Education meeting. We do have a waiver that is going to go around that we're all going to have to sign because of the meeting originally being scheduled Monday and then rescheduled to yesterday and then scheduled to today. So it is still considered a regular meeting. It is not a special meeting, but because we changed the date, we do have to make sure that we sign the waiver that's going around. And I just want to thank everyone for being available and moving through the transition as we've worked through these snow days.
So Tina, right? Our stuff's not working.
We don't have the owl yet, so if we could pause just a second.
That's fine. Well, we've got
Is this
coming
it
around
right now? Is it on?
That's not
You
plugged
go.
in at all.
It
The
is
owl
trying
has moved, so it's just laying loose down there.
And did it come out?
Oh,
Yeah.
yep. That's why.
He's on here.
Oh, he is on here.
Business item number 3 on the next page.
Are you in?
Amber, do you want the whole school lunch or just the entree? Either or. The White City class of '03 voted for favorite school lunch the same way. Oh. That's fun.
There you go.
No, it's
Does
still.
somebody have better fingers than I have?
Are you needing to reset it?
No, see, it's really hard to go.
I think it just worked when I.
Okay, it's blinking.
There you
we
go.
have
There we
eyes.
go.
There we go.
Okay.
Right into it sometime.
Okay.
Jan or Becky, can one of you let us know whether or not you can hear us, please?
This is Jan. I can hear you.
Thank you. All right, we had some technical difficulties, so now we're ready to go. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to do is we have Chelsea Schmidt here, and Chelsea is going to do our oath of office. So if we could get all 7 board members to please stand.
Okay, so I'm going to read you small portions of the oath, and you guys will repeat it back. And then when we get towards the end, we will each state your position on the board, and then we'll end together. Okay, and the new officers, this is your official oath of office, and those of you that are already officers, we're just going to renew your oath. So, I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of Unified School District 417, Board of Education member,
Don Alderman, member at large.
Kelsey Hartman, District 2.
Jay Chalkshall, District 1.
Patty Talley, District 2.
Jamie Johnson, District 1. Tina Ray Scott, District 2.
Okay. In Morris County, Kansas. So help me God. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And Chelsea, you've got some people that need to sign, correct? So we'll take just a moment for those people to sign. And just so everyone is aware, Mr. Powell did his oath this afternoon because he thought he was going to be reffing some basketball games tonight that got canceled. So Mr. Powell's got to do that twice today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. That leads us right into our next item on the agenda, which is the empty chair philosophy for for the new members of the board. This is something that we started this year. So we have placed an empty chair in the room. We have asked Superintendent Meyer to please read the empty chair philosophy. And once she's done, we'll just take a few minutes to reflect on what she said before we go on to the next item.
You will notice an empty chair in the middle of the room. I ask you to picture a student in our district, whether it be one in the classroom, on the stage, or on the court or field, that is represented by the empty chair. We are here for students, and all decisions should be made keeping students at the forefront of all those decisions. As the best schools make decisions based on the needs and interests of their students, not the habits and traditions of the adults. I ask you to keep that student in your mind while making decisions to ensure the best interests of our students by providing a safe learning environment that is relevant and rigorous to prepare them for post-secondary endeavors.
Thank you, Mrs. Meyer. We do have some additions to the agenda this evening. Due to the cancellation of the Scholars Bowl, we do have Mrs. Schroeder here to provide a student spotlight on education with our esports and robotics team. And additionally, under administrative reports, we will be hearing from Becky Scher with our food service department. So at this time, I would entertain a motion for approval of the agenda with those two items added.
Madam President, I move to approve the agenda as presented with the two additional items.
I'll second. It's been moved by Kelsey, seconded by Jamie to approve the agenda with the addition of the two items as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Amber, did we have any patrons reach out? Okay. So the next item we're going to jump right into is our student spotlight on education. Mrs. Schroeder.
So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tracy Schroeder. I've been in this district for 23 years. He corrected me earlier this year and I don't know if that's right. So some of the things that I do at the high school currently is we have an esports program that we officially started last year. It was kind of wild and very unorganized. So this year we kind of changed it a little bit it was just got really out of hand with the games and the things that we were trying to do. So we changed it a little bit, and this year we had 3 different games that we played. They were all the Nintendo games. That allowed us to keep everything in my classroom. Last year we were kind of sending kids home at random times to play games whenever they could, and it just wasn't working. We kind of had an idea that we would have a setup somewhere in the building, but we use every inch of our building, and there's just at this point nowhere to put that. So right now I have 4 Nintendo Switches in my room. We play 3 Nintendo games, we had a Splatoon team this year. We had 2 Mario Kart teams, and we had 4 Smash Brothers teams. 2 of our Smash Brothers teams qualified for the finals. Actually, you guys were one of the teams. So Daniel, Caleb, and Matthew, Ethan was our alternate when he was here. They were one of the teams that qualified for the finals, and then we also had Levi Senni, Gus Pinnock, and Leo White was the other team that qualified. So it's really fun. It's chaotic and wild at times, but the kids are having a really good time with it. We had 27 kids come in and be a part of that this year. So I'm really excited about that. Spring season starts the first part of February, I think. And we'll look at that as soon as we get out of our snow days. So here in a few weeks, we'll start up in our spring season. I think we'll have about the same number. A lot of these guys have some conflicts with spring sports, but we'll figure that part out. So the other thing that I do in the fall is, this is our robotics team. So this is our outreach team. So one of the parts to our competition is going out into public and talking about our programming, our program, and just kind of spreading the word about what we do and giving people some ideas of what these kids do in the 6 weeks that they have to build a robot. So we do have a little presentation with pictures. Do you want me to plug in? Place the
Can you, what is it?
It's just a Google slide, if that works. You want me to share it with you?
Mrs. Schroeder, while they're doing that, can we have our students introduce themselves and tell us what grade level you guys are in?
Okay. I'm Daniel and I'm a junior.
I'm Caleb and I am also a junior.
I'm Matthew and I was a junior as well.
My name is Ethan and I'm also a junior.
My name's Ruby and I'm an 8th grader. My name's Annabelle and I'm a freshman.
So part of our program is for them to do this presentation, so I am going to hand it over to them. Do you want me to share that?
Share with Amber. And then I can present it.
To Amber?
Yes, please.
I have a question for you guys. Maybe you guys can answer it while Mrs. Schroeder's doing that. When she's saying that you qualify for something in esports, can you explain what that means? Like, what do you qualify for?
So there's preliminary rounds to basically score each team, and it's like play against everybody, kind of like a round robin, I guess. And then if you qualify and you get enough points, you enter a bracket in this like finals.
And who are you playing against?
We're playing other schools.
Other
schools around.
So it's like a league, essentially?
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm so far removed from there.
Okay, guys, good job.
Yeah, don't worry about standing in front of.
All right.
In just a second, guys, we've got to make sure that we're sharing our screen so that everybody can see.
Okay, well, as previously mentioned, we're the robotics team here in Council Grove. This year the theme was medical themed. So essentially our robot has to go out and do numerous surgeries on the game floor. The game was called Incision Decision. So essentially we had to make a robot capable of switching tools and doing multiple procedures within a 3-minute time constraint. There we go. The build team. So after kickoff day, our team goes back to the school and we'll start creating designs. We'll start prototyping designs and using whiteboard sketches. Essentially, no design is final for the first couple of weeks because we'll continue to tinker with the robot. But once we figure out a design, we'll start making it out of wood and other materials provided in the kits that they give us. Here's a picture of all the kits. We get a big old box of just random supplies that we have to push together, we have to build together to make a functioning robot, which the build part, that one's probably one of the harder parts of it alongside the programming. But in the end, we ended up coming up with a really, really nice robot with, you want to turn on the controller real quick? We still have the robot together. We will have to decommission all the electronic parts soon to send them back to BEST. But our build team was able to fully make this robot with a parallel arm design. So it's able to, it's able to go up and down as well as a custom piece. This piece right here is able to do multiple procedures without switching tools. We are given, I believe, like 4 or 5 different tools that we can use. we only used one just so we didn't have to go back and waste time, I should say. So our robot was efficient on the game floor. It's able to fit within these two spots. We would typically have it in the bottom spot because on the game floor, there were big old tubes with blocks of wood in it. I think like 2x4x1 blocks of wood in it. And we would have to line ourselves up and stick it into the hole and scrape it out. And using what I like to call the DVD tray, it shoots out a little tray at the bottom, and all the plaque is able to get onto the tray, and we are able to efficiently dispose of the plaque. One thing that was a flaw with our building design was the wheels, I should say. We reused the same wheels as last year because we didn't really fully know how to use the CNC machine to redo them. So we just used the same ones. They're very, very good wheels. They're good with traction and grip. But the one flaw that we would have, and we had the same flaw last year, was the robot doesn't drive perfectly straight. After driving with both joysticks forward, it will slowly go off to, I believe, the right. And that was kind of a problem that we slowly overcame, but that was our build team right there.
The programming of this robot was, for the most part, what it normally is when we make our robot for robotics. I didn't practice this in case you can't tell. Throughout the years, we kind of alternate in between what it's called arcade and tank controls, which is how we control the wheels. Arcade controls being you push both joysticks forward and each one controls a different wheel, and tank controls being only one joystick controls both. This year we chose tank controls where both motors are controlled by the left joystick. Never mind. That is not what we did. I thought that's what we did. But the programming for the arm was a pulley system with a motor attached to it and a bungee cord holding it in place so it doesn't lose balance and fall, and so it doesn't go too far and break. The DVD tray was probably the biggest issue we had on the robot for the programming. Well, what we originally did, we have a motor underneath the robot attached to a, I don't know if I gotta tilt this. Underneath the robot, we have a Velcro wheel attached to a tray which rolls back and forth to extend and retract it. And the main issue that we had was we would hold it down and it would often be pushed out too far and it would fall off of the Velcro track and not be able to be pulled back in to deposit the plaque. So to combat this issue, what we did was we set the DVD tray on a timer where it extends for just the right amount of time, so it extends far enough to catch the plaque, but not too far to where it cannot be pulled back.
Oh. The notebook. One of the things that we need to do for robotics is creating a notebook, basically documenting everything we do from day one all the way up till the day before practice day when it's due. It starts off with numerous topics that you have to do, including offensive strategies and defensive strategies, programming, building the robot, as well as pictures that we have to put on. In total, it's about 35-ish pages that we need to do. It used to be printed off and would have like a big old binder with a bunch of pages in it and really look cool, but now it's all virtual. We just send them a Google Doc of the finished product. But of course, every year we say that we're going to stay on top of this notebook, but this year we were slowly doing the notebook a little bit. When I was up in Kansas City, I would work on the notebook from time to time, but we ended up doing probably at least 60% of it on the last day, which wasn't really fun, or like the last week. Because I remember one day Caleb was working on the notebook. He did around 3,000-ish pages during school hours. Not 3,000 words, not words, not pages, words. And then when we went to robotics, me and him both did a couple thousand words, which it was not fun. Our hands were cramping, and then we had to do a bunch of proofreading because we're okay at writing. We still need to proofread it quite a bit because we are full of errors, let's just say that. And then in the end, we actually did for the last couple of years, we actually do pretty good on our notebook, because whenever we were, what? We got fourth? Okay. We got fourth out of, what was it, like 18 teams, which is, it was pretty good. We got fourth in like most things, except for a couple other things, which we'll discuss later, but, yeah. The marketing presentation is also another thing that we do. Basically, we have to present to a bunch of 3 judges. We have to essentially sell our robot as if we were selling it to a consumer or just a business willing to take this robot and sell it off to other people. We have to talk about our profits, how we're going to sell the robot, why should we sell the robot, what makes our robot different from all the other robots, what makes it special, and essentially who would be buying the robot. We have to do a bunch of research behind it, and it's about a 30-minute presentation, and it's not the funnest. As you can see, we're all mentally exhausted down in this picture. I'm not in the picture, not present. I was sitting in the very back, just mentally exhausted. And after the presentation, they come up with a bunch of hard questions that they have to ask us. One of the key questions that was asked was, whenever we would price the robot, we kind of copied the presentation from last year to this year, except we changed up quite a few things. So some of the aspects of last year were in this year's that we just slipped through us. One of the things was we had a bundle of 25 robots for a pretty big price because we forgot to change up some stuff. But one of our members up here came, just really helped us out because he ended up talking his way out of it and essentially saying that like a big old organization that's around the United States, let's say like Children's Mercy, for example, there's places all over. What if like the headquarters buys the 25 bundle and distributes it to everywhere across the United States, which that one came in, that one was, yeah, we needed that. We ended up doing really good on this one. We got 4th overall on this on the marketing design. Out of, I think it was like 30 points is what the entire presentation is worth. And we probably scored around 25-ish, 28 range. So we scored a lot on this presentation.
So this is our booth where we kind of set it up and explained everything that they already talked about. In our booth, I think it was Evie who helped make this LED heart thing in the back. It was really cool. It changed colors every time we talked. Sadly, it was really loud in the area we were in, so it just kept flashing. You can see that there's like poster board picture frames hung up. Those had like info about how we go talk to the elementary school, and we came here and talked for the board meeting thing. There's a brain back there that explains all the coding and how we built the robot, and it's just a big box in booth. I can't remember exactly how big it's allowed to be, but
Okay. Behind like all of our like whatever we decided for our brain, that was kind of a struggle putting that together. We went through a lot of different like design processes, and what we ended up doing was kind of Mod Podging it over and then painting over it. And building the shape was a little hard. Our heart behind all that, like the heart of our everything, we kind of just put LED lights and then plastic wrap over that. And we just added in some quotes and some other aspects of our robotics group into the group. When we were presenting, I feel like we weren't I don't feel like I was as prepared as I needed to be. And I feel like I was just kind of standing there, but I think we did pretty good. I can't remember what we did. 4th. We got 4th overall. We were consistent.
Another thing about this booth that was really funny was whenever we were putting it together and taking it apart to transport it up to Wichita, it was funny because it took them a very, very long time to put it back together because nobody decided to, take pictures of which parts are supposed to go where.
We took pictures.
Very bad pictures, I should say, and it wasn't really helpful for them. Of course, I was down in the pit most of the time, so.
We also had pamphlets to hand out to people that explain the game and what our team did, so.
Well, this year we went to there's the junior high robotics, which was a great time. It was fun. We helped doing the field management stuff, like sweeping out the bricks that they would normally put into those blue boxes in the bottom right. And we got to see a bunch of, I think, how many teams was it? Like 16 teams?
The middle school?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
There was a lot. And they all had their own robots that were designed for that purpose of putting blocks into those taped outlines. We also did a parade, which I did not attend because I was doing something else. And we got Ethan in there though, so that was nice. We got a picture of Ethan on a stick. It's wonderful. Yeah.
We do like the middle school robotics team, basically just trying to inspire some of the younger people of the high school to slowly get into robotics. It's much simpler than high school, of course, because it's only junior high. You're going around and collecting little bricks, little ping pong balls, and I believe little pool balls, and putting them all in the corners, scoring different points. I don't believe they did very well this year, just because it was the first time us coming back for the junior high doing this, because it was canceled due to COVID for a couple of years, but it just finally came back. And there was a lot of high school teams who went into the junior high tournament, and wasn't the funnest for them because it was got up against competition like us who know the engineering design process and making a really good robot. But overall, they did good, and it's gonna be fun to watch next year. Oh, wrong way again.
Wrong way.
The years where we struggled this year was team spirit. I say this because for the best reward, it is everything that's not like the robot, like just the sitting robot. It includes the marketing presentation, the notebook, the booth, and of course spirit, which we kind of lack on. We're a really quiet team, I should say. But I say that we're lacking in spirit because to qualify for regionals, we needed to either be top 2 for the robot or top 2 in best. And we managed to be 0.3 out of 100 whole points away from qualifying for regionals for the best reward. We got 3rd place overall in best, and it's kind of sad that we were that close, but I think it kind of inspires us to be on top of it more, kind of like with the notebook, making sure that we're slowly getting through it as we go on instead of doing it on the last day. But we did really well, I should say, overall. A lot better than last year, because last year we didn't make it to the final round for the robot, and this year we made it to the final round. It was pretty close because our robot, we tried building our robot to be really, really precise instead of speed, and a lot of the other robots had being decent when it comes to how precise they were, but they were really fast robots. And with how the game floor was set up, I don't know if we have a picture of it, but there was 2 robots on each side, so you had to share a space with another robot. And since we got the 4th seed in the final round, we got placed at the back of the game field each time, which we really did not want to do. We're a slow robot, but once we get there, we can score points really fast. And sadly, the other teams would beat us to the spot, and we would have to go to what's called the blind side of the field. We could not see where our robot was. We had to rely on the spotter the entire time, showing us where to go. And because I'm facing the driver, for example, if I say you need to go right, they would have to turn it left, and there was a lot of miscommunication between the two, as well as our robot not perfectly driving straight. It would kind of go off to the right a little bit, so you had to just like slowly inch forward. But yeah, overall the spirit is the t-shirts that we designed, basically having a team uniform and being loud the entire time, and not just for your team, as well as sportsmanship.
So game day is pretty much the one big day of the entire season where everything that you've done throughout the 7 weeks that we have just all comes together, and we compete our robot, of course, throughout the entire day. It's like 9 hours, I think, or something like 9 or 10 hours all day. And we also set up our booth, as we said before, and it's just everything that comes together. And then what we got on game day was second in creative design review, which is where we tell judges what our robot does, and they give us critical design review feedback. We got third in the best award, which is everything but the robot, and then we got fourth overall with the robot. So
here's what the blind side, if you guys were wondering, it's the arteries, which are right here. They're full of these little bricks that are on the bottom. We would place the scraper on the top part, depending on which one we want to go for. It's typically on the bottom, so we can scrape out the bottom arteries, but you get more points if it's on the top one. So for example, right here, we were trying to go for the top artery on the blind side, and the driver would be standing off over here, facing the arteries, and it was, very hard to do it. On this one, on this picture right here, we ended up successfully doing the top one and successfully depositing this plaque inside.
Ethan, I'm gonna chime in right there for just a second. I was there that day. I happened to be going through Wichita, so I stopped. Not only is it hard to see that spot, it was incredibly loud in that facility. Going back to what you guys talked about, the spirit.
Yeah.
I was confused and not expecting that part of it, because they had 55-gallon drums there that they're beating on. And so not just you couldn't see it, you really had to concentrate to communicate that, because it was loud.
Yeah, we had to use
really
hand signals in order to do it, like come straight back, go straight forward. Here's what we said for the DVD tray going out and going back in.
Yeah.
Because we had to use hand signals because, like you said, it was very loud in there, and we were probably around 20-ish, 25 feet away from the driver. And so even us, like almost yelling it was just really loud in there. No problem. I think that's the last slide, so. Yep, that's robotics. It's fun. It's frustrating at times, but it's fun.
I'm gonna ask one question, because I heard you start to say it and then you stopped. But tell us about Osage City.
We helped them with, I think, just building the robot. Yeah.
They kind of got there that day.
Yeah, they got there and their robot wasn't the greatest, but it was a lot better than where they were at practice day. And we helped do that with just like building the robot.
So that's actually part of the program as well. How are you helping other, that's like a checklist on the judge's sheet, is are you helping other teams? So that's one of the things that they really encourage you to do, is to go help teams that are struggling, and if you can help them do that. I say this every time, but like Wichita Homeschool came, and actually they came in for a Saturday in our first year and showed us how to build a wheel. It was like, we had no idea what we were doing, but they came and they helped us. So that's kind of the way to kind of encourage other teams to help keep other teams in the competition, because this is a tough thing to do. And if you don't know how to build a wheel and you can't get your robot to go and you can't score points, it's really frustrating, and it's hard to keep those teams in there. Osage City, they painted their robot green and they called it a turtle, and it was moving. The first round or two, it was not moving, but we got it going, and so it was going around. And by the end, they had scored a point. They had figured out that they could put the piece on and pick up a thing and put it in the trash. And so by the time they were done, they were scoring points. And the little girl that was on there, she came over, she said, "Did you see us?" I was so excited. It was just nice to be able to kind of help them get through that and make it successful for them too.
And this next year for robotics, we just got the teaser trailer for it. It's space themed. With this year's was Incision Decision. This upcoming year is going to be low G, so for like low gravity, and they emphasize the moon quite a bit, and I believe it's just rough terrain. So I think they're actually going to make a game floor that you actually have to go down into like little craters, I should say, with an all-terrain robot and retrieve stuff, maybe. I don't know.
That's our guess.
They were very, very vague. They're always really vague with the teaser trailers, but it's going to be fun next year. It's always fun, I should say, but I think it's going to be a little more fun next year.
So you mentioned that the electronics have to go back.
Yeah.
So do you get to use kits from previous years to build your robot?
Yeah,
You wanna explain what that looks like, Ethan, for?
so we get the kit on kickoff day, and within that kit, we get an electronics box, which Best has personally made sure that all the electronics inside the robot are working. If not, they replace it. And we get those electronics, and we don't put the electronics on until later on in the building process, but we have to wire everything except for some of the wires that go down to the main parts of the robot. Like on the ends of the motors, we have to personally do those wires and solder them. But the wires that are connected to the brain down here we don't have to mess around with those. They do not want us messing around with those. They're very protective of their stuff, and we don't really want to mess with it.
The Kansas hub is based in Wichita State, and so we get like Spirit and Boeing, all those big companies in Wichita that sponsor us. So we're really fortunate in our hub. We don't have to pay to participate. Like, we don't have to buy our kits. They give us the kit every year, so we have to take it apart and give it back. So that's one of the things that, because we've priced, these are not cheap, as you might guess. So that is one of the things that allows us to do this, is we don't have to go raise $10,000 every year to buy a new kit and the pieces. They give us the kit and everything. So
it is sad though to take off all the electronics and
it's very
decommission the robot. Because we have like the skeleton of our robot, and we just now like really started taking it apart and taking off pieces of it. And it was kind of sad to see it go, but because last year we were super close, because last year they let all 4 qualifiers of the finals round go on to regionals, and we were 5th place. And we had a younger driver. We had a freshman driver driving at the time, and I think it got into his head. Not freshman, it would be. It was a freshman, okay. It was a freshman driver driving in the finals, and I think it kind of overwhelmed him a little bit. We were super close from making it, but in the end, I think him not being able to get us into regionals kind of inspired us to do a little bit better, work on it a little harder, and we ended up making a really good robot this year, because we were 2nd place in the preliminaries. We were 2nd place by 100 average points each time. And then semifinals came around. We were struggling quite a bit because we were being placed in the back of the game floor. And finals, we got the bottom seed. And there's four rounds in finals, and there's 4 spots. You would think if it's 4 spots and 4 rounds, you would alternate each spot once. We got pushed in the back. We were on yellow, which is on the back twice, blue, which is in the front. I was driving the blue round, which we were able to score quite a few points. And then I believe the other color was green, which was also in the back. So we kind of got screwed over a little bit, but in the end, it was fun. It was really sad, but we were surprised that we got 3rd place overall by getting 4th in everything. But we did really good this year.
Very good.
Any questions?
Mrs. Schroeder, can we just make sure that we have all of them signed in on the sign-up sheet that's out front?
Did you guys sign?
You signed me in?
She get her-
Yeah, I signed it.
she get her tab.
Yep, I gave it to him.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is approval of the monthly bills and the financials. The financial packet was included. The amount this month is $230,450.15.
Madam President, I move that we approve the monthly bills and financials in the amount of $230,450.15 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Jamie, seconded by Patty, to approve the monthly bills and financials in the amount of $230,450.15. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda, which includes approving the minutes of the previous meeting. Those would be both the December 11th and the December 13th meeting. Financial report and pay bills, donations and gifts, and personnel. That's the employment of Becky Jarvis as the Council Grove Junior Senior High School Food Service and Clara Eldridge as the junior high track assistant. The resignation of Michelle Stackley as the Council Grove Junior Senior High School Spanish teacher, and retirement for Ann Rubidoux as the Prairie Heights Elementary School second grade teacher. And just so everyone's aware, that's effective at the end of the school year. Anything that you would like to see removed from the consent agenda? If not, then at this time I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
A second.
Moved by Kelsey, seconded by Jamie to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next thing that we have are the administrative reports. We got those in our packets and emailed to us. Council Grove Elementary, we have Mrs. Honus online and Mrs. Bremer. Here, do either one of you have anything to add? Prairie Heights Elementary. Forge. Council Grove Junior Senior High School, Mr. Dornbus. Health and wellness.
You need to talk about the rescheduling of the junior high tournament.
Okay.
Oh.
The junior high basketball tournament's rescheduled for Monday and Wednesday. It'll be single elimination.
Okay. And then do we have dates for Scholars Bowl or any of those things? Are we making
Not dates on those.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Health and wellness, Mrs. Reddick.
Nothing to add.
Okay. Curriculum, Mrs. Gare. All right. Mrs. Meyer.
Yeah, Becky, are you there? Would you like to talk about this food grant that we talked long and hard in December? Tell us.
Yeah. Hi. Yes, so we did get that wonderful grant. Oh my gosh, we got the whole thing. Huh, I was so excited.
Wait. What's the whole thing, Becky? What's that dollar amount?
What is it? A little bit shy of $80,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I was not expecting that at all. I was yeah, I got that email and I mean I don't think I could figure out which way to stand up, sit down, or anything. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? But yeah, so we have it all. The POs have been sent, and we will find out when the stuff can come. So exciting news.
Well, I want to thank you because writing those are not easy, and all the communication that you had to get back and forth, worrying about deadlines. Thank you for your hard work.
Yes. Well, and thank you. I also wanted to tell you guys I was really sorry about how confusing that whole thing was, because I didn't know where to turn or how to handle that whole thing. So anyway, I'm sorry about how confusing that was.
And just for clarification, the only things that we're gonna have to pay for are some electrical and some plumbing.
Yes.
That's correct? Yes. Great. Awesome.
Thank you. On financials, especially for you new folks, if you would look at page 23 to 33 in your financials, it's a spreadsheet, and what it is, it's a check report. There's accounts payable, it says payee summary. And as you look through that, if you can find it through there, it ends up with a spreadsheet like this. And these are the checks that we write with the explanation of what it's for. And if you want to know where we spend our money, other than utilities and insurance and everything else that is a normal payment during the week, this is what we're writing checks for. All right? And that would be the first place I would tell you when you get financials to go to. Go through and look at those checks to see reimbursements made to people or purchases made, we're trying to get a little more clarification on, our credit card, because it says Amazon, 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 Amazon. And Bryce is going to try to be a little, more clear on what those Amazon purchases are. But the majority of our buildings, as far as supplies and equipment and different little things that we need, we buy from Amazon. Shipping's free, they have the best price. So, next month I hope to explain those credit cards that we use for that. But this would be one of the main things that you could look at. Some of the other items on there are pretty redundant, and you look at that and it says all these things to Blue Cross Blue Shield, all these things to utilities, all these things for other normal payments that we make, just our operating expenses. And sometimes I think we forget to just look at the daily purchases that we make. The other thing I put in front of you is a smaller spreadsheet. These are the main accounts that we charge items to. All right, so if you look at general fund where we started at $7,699,000, and you look at across the columns, year-to-date actual totals, and you look all the way over there, percent remaining. This was as of, and I've got the wrong one here. I'm looking at the dang wrong one, 12.5. Do you have one that says 1.4?
1.5.
No, 1.5, okay. We started out with that, and you look at that percent remaining at 78%. So what this tells you, basically, as of December 31st, which was 1/2 of our budget year, we still have 78% of our general fund remaining. So if you look at that, down at some of these accounts, supplemental general is our tax dollars or our mill levy, 4-year at risk, how we spend some of our money, and look at the percentages. All of these percentages should be 50% or higher, which is good. We're not gonna go out here in a couple months and spend 30% of these budgets. We always like to have that little bit left over at the end of the year, so we always have new purchases to make, whether it's curriculum or equipment. So you will be seeing this in your financial packets from here on out. We may add a couple of columns or lines down here with accounts as we get going, but this really gives you a better idea of, again, how are we spending our money? Where are we sitting at? If these were at 50% or below, you would have cause to say, oh my gosh, we're not gonna have enough money to make payroll in June or July. So I watch this pretty tightly. Junior high basketball tournament, let's see, Northern Heights or North Lyon County still didn't have school today. And so the junior high tournament that was planned this week and on the weekend has been rescheduled for Monday and Wednesday, single elimination tournament, and we are hosting that here. Also on Monday night, our high school basketball team starts their league tournament, and it's at William Allen White facility in Emporia. I think the boys are on Monday, girls are on Tuesday. I want to go over the school year requirement. We have two options and we choose our calendar. We can either go 186 days or we can go 1,116 hours. And we have chosen to go 1,116 hours. We, basically the time that we have, we get 6.5 hours a day for every day that we're in school. We had several days added onto our calendar. We get 50% every day that we have professional development. We get 100% when we have parent-teacher conferences. So all those times kind of add up to get our 1,116 hours. We'll probably clear up to 1,165 or 70 hours, just what we have. So we have extra time in there. So these days that we have been out of school, there are some good old wives' tales and myths that, oh, they had to be here and we had to serve them meals, or We don't get to count anything. Once we have students walk through the front doors and we start school, we count the entire day. So on Monday, whether we release kids at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, or whether we served lunch or didn't serve lunch on Fridays and Mondays, that we count that as the entire 6.5 hours. Now, the last few days that we didn't have school at all, we have to use our extra days, our extra time. If we get, because we're just really starting the winter part, if we get to where that we're going to run out of time, if we add 5 minutes to the day for 80 days, we make up one whole day. So if we get close to the end of the school year or as before spring break, and we find out we get some more snow or inclement weather or non-drivable days, and we have to call school, we have options of how we can add time on without upsetting the calendar. All right? Wanted to explain that. There's a lot of people said, oh, well, we have to serve lunch, or we have to be here till 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock or whatever. We could release school at 8:30 in the morning and still count the whole day. All right? But because we didn't have them here, we can't count it at all. It has to come off of our numbers. We do not have school on Monday. We're closed Martin Luther King Day. Cybersecurity. Our forensics analysis that our insurance company hired to do, they have not found anything malicious or anything that was stolen from us. We are getting with ISG, our tech company out of Topeka, to strengthen our network and our infrastructure. The investigation and the forensic analysis should be done by the end of the month. We've had really good professionals that look at it and tell us how to strengthen that and work with our tech company. I think I'm all talked out, unless, oh, I know what that is. This is Board Recognition Month, and you have a certificate with your name on it. We want to appreciate you and thank you for the time that you are spending with us and giving us guidance. There is a new law in Kansas that says we can pay our school board members, but I don't think this district has taken that move. Most districts have not. But again, thank you for your time. It's a big volunteer. It's a big time. But thank you for being here. And that's it, unless you have any questions for me.
How many days did you say were built in, extra days? Or
We had about 7.
7. And how many have we used so far?
We have 1.7 left.
So
So if I get close to that time, I'll look at adding on 5 minutes at the end of the day, or 5 minutes in the morning, or whatever. If you want to multiply that out and divide it by 60, you'll see how much time we make up. 10 minutes a day in a semester is 2 days. So rather than saying we're not having spring break, or we're not going to take these days off, 5 minutes does not 5 or 10 minutes a day does not affect activities and travel and parents' plans.
Would it affect the teachers being able to get what they need to done? Like if you were to add 5 or 10, would it, like instead of adding an extra day? Do you know what I'm asking?
They've already had a few days off with pay.
No, I mean like, let's say, I don't know, a teacher might be able to answer. Do you know what I'm asking?
Curriculum.
You got a lesson
So we're
plan.
going to add on 5 or 10 minutes in the classroom, but we're not going to add on 5 or 10 minutes to their 30 minutes after school. The contract, is it 30 minutes?
I just didn't know if it would
I think
affect.
she's talking more from a curriculum perspective.
Yes, that's what
So
I'm
if
asking.
I'm teaching history and I've missed 4 days of teaching history, you adding 5 minutes to the last hour of the day isn't helping me in my third hour history class.
I agree.
That was more, thank you, Terry, I didn't know if that was.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you, and I'm just not quite sure. Dale Dennis always talked about if you're going to a 4-day week, are you really gonna teach as much as you would teach in 5 days? That would be a burden, I would say, on the teachers to make sure they get through that curriculum.
It's one of the things at the junior, senior high school that we do when we plan out the yearly schedule. We actually, most years that we can, there's actually more days built into the winter trimester simply because we know we're gonna lose some days potentially. So yeah, it affects it. In our building though, we're able to make up for that a little bit, but there's some time built in.
That's good question.
Any other questions? The next item on our agenda is board member items. Since we were so busy right at the beginning of the meeting, we didn't go around the room and do introductions. For the new people that are in the room, I think that this might be helpful for you, just so that you get familiar with the faces that are actually in here. So let's just go around the room right now and just have everybody introduce yourself. And if you're with the district, if you can state what your role is, that would be great. So Tina Ray Scott.
Jamie Johnson. Patty Talley.
Jay Troxel.
Kelsey Hartman.
Don Alderman.
Terry Powell.
Evan Carr.
Valerie Gear, the curriculum director.
Amber Weeks, board clerk.
Nancy Meyer, superintendent.
Tasha Green, district instructional coach.
Elsie Brimmer, assistant principal at Council Grove Elementary and district 504 coordinator and early childhood coordinator.
Dana Reddick, district health nurse.
Crystal Forge, Prairie Heights principal.
Jay Dornbos, Council Grove Junior Senior High School principal.
Taylor Green, junior, senior high, agri department, and FFA.
And then, of course, online we have Becky with food services and Mrs. Honas as principal of the elementary school. So thank you, everyone. Board members, anyone else have anything that you wish to add? Okay. Hearing none, we'll jump right into our business items and our reports. So out in the hallway, we have Dr. Britton Hart and Alma Henry with Kansas Association of School Boards.
Hi, folks. How's everybody? Welcome to your first meeting. Who's our new board members? Welcome, welcome. Nice to meet you. I think we've met before, but so, hey, I'm Britton Hart and Alma Henry. Whoever's online, hello. Nice to see you as well. So here tonight, we're going to do a couple things. What I want our board to feel comfortable with is to be able to ask questions about our search process. Every 2 years, we obviously have an election. And so this is when they moved it 4 or 5 years ago. This is not as timely as it used to be when that election was in July. All right, folks. So as a new board member, you're like, this is my first meeting and we're starting to talk about how to potentially, who's going to be our superintendent next year. Okay, that's a little bit different versus if you got elected in July. And so we'll try to make that as easy as possible. A couple things you should have at your place. You should have a handbook as a board member that looks like this. If you will, if you'll put your name on that, just so I typically go through about 20 of some of these because somebody, and I'll pick on you. What is your name?
Jay.
Jay won't bring it back, okay, next time. So I'll bring another one for Jay. But so anywho, as best you can, this is kind of your worksheet or your path along the way. Make notes in this. This is for you to keep, kind of earmark questions, et cetera, et cetera. And so this will be something we reference quite a bit tonight. Our goal tonight is to make sure you understand as best you can what your role is in this process, to be able to ask questions, and as a board, start to talk about what's going to be important when we identify characteristics of the next superintendent, okay? And as you do that, I always feel like the board comes together a little bit, because then you start to think about some of your values and some of your perspectives of who you're looking for and how we're going to screen those candidates, okay? Stop me if you have questions. I've done this 100 times, and then sometimes I just go a little quicker than I need to because I know the information. So we're going to start with the characteristics, and to do that, we're going to go through our survey first. And so Mrs. Henry, if you go that way, I'll take this way. So there's 2 pieces of data, board, that we utilize. The first one is a survey that we survey any patron that would like to participate. The second piece will be our focus group information today. And we'll use both of those pieces as a board to then refine what those characteristics will look like. We are not gonna find someone that walks on water, okay, but we are gonna find someone that's highly competent, that's able to do this work and to lead your great staff and the 800 kids you have. That's important, right? And so use this as one of the tools that we share with you tonight. I'm gonna walk through this survey. Again, this is something you're gonna keep and wanna utilize, but I'm just gonna start on page 1 and we'll kind of walk ourselves through here. 206 people participate in the survey. That's probably not a bad number, okay? It's not about 25% of your student population. You can kind of see on the bottom right-hand side there what group they represented. Obviously, parents typically are our largest group, all the way down to students and administrators. Going to go slide over to page 2. Does everybody have one?
Slide on the
Yeah.
And if I have, do we have any media here?
She's online.
She's online, okay. This is something I could email later or through the board clerk if we need to, so.
Or Dr. Hardy, you can leave a copy here.
Okay,
Get it to her.
Yeah, sorry, I have one extra too, I'm not sure what I'm holding on to.
Great.
So page 2, we start with how do you, not just who you're represented, but how many years you've been in the community. So again, you can kind of see that. That's also fairly typical. Sliding over to question 3, we divide up the personal and leadership qualities separately. The thing I want to resonate is that we prioritize these by the most number of times they've been ranked at the highest level. So that right-hand column, if you will, ranked at kid first personality. So when you think about it as a board, do you have a clear vision? Do we use that lens to make decisions? And we have a student sitting at the table. When we think about that, do we make our decisions through that lens or do we make it through other lenses? Okay, so that's what your community said based on this survey is important to them. Second one, obviously, the personal strength to do what's right. That's what I would call integrity. That's that character and that humility to be able to do some things. And then the third one is that transparency, everybody's favorite word in 2024. What does transparency mean? And the board, we're gonna have to talk about that. What does transparency and communication really mean to you as a board? And if we think that's important, how do we ask the right questions to the candidates to ensure that they can do that as well, okay? Questions on page 3? Sliding over to 4, folks, shifts from personal to leadership qualities. So this changes a little bit. So just like I asked the kids, hey, what do you want to look for in your next superintendent? Obviously, they resonated with, hey, they want somebody that can come to the ball games. We talked to 5 kids at the high school today, and it was like, hey, we want them to be involved in our activities, not necessarily physically involved, but they want to be present so that they can have a good understanding of help guide programming, make decisions. And so when you think about the leadership qualities, I guarantee none of the kids said they want a fiscal manager, okay? None of them did, all right, sorry to say. But that is important to the people that were surveyed. They think that, hey, fiscal responsibility is important. A lot of our small rural communities, to be fair, board, we don't have a ton of extra money. And so we do need someone that is proactive, creative, and the ability to be able to maintain a good, positive budget to support our growth. Second, that proactive thinker. Your district, as I talk to your staff, many of them enter this room, you guys are doing a lot of great things already. A lot of innovation, a lot of things, to be fair, good systems in place that you're proud of. And how do we make sure that these individuals can help support those things? And the rounded out one, which also resonated in the focus groups, is we have a good community base. We have good pride, we have good community support. So other thoughts or comments on page 4? I think I met your mom today, is that right?
Well, I don't know,
Did I say that right? What's your last name?
Chocolate?
Yep, I did. She was very pleasant. She was fun. She was our only community member, so. Okay, so page 3 shifts to what type of experience. Now, I'm gonna preface this. You guys are right in that middle. Anybody know, quiz question, not you, Tina Ray, sorry. Any quiz question, anybody in the room, what is the median district size in Kansas? Median district size of enrollment in Kansas? Any guessers? Throw out a number.
2,000.
2,000 is way high.
600.
600's close. Who said that? You want to, I got an extra minute. So 550, folks, is the median size of school district in Kansas. A median, 550. So it tells you there's a whole slew of them below, and there's a whole bunch above. I will tell you, take off the top 15 though, that's has the most amount of kids in the whole state. But, so what I'm saying is if yours is 800 approximately, you're about not quite double, but at least a third larger than the median size. Now, why am I saying that, Britton? I'm saying that because you should be afforded the ability to have two things here. Possibly a well-seasoned superintendent, if that's what the board desires, someone that's done this job, that's lived in that role, that has experience. You also should be afforded to, if the pool's right, someone that's an up-and-comer, brand new, that possibly is coming out of a building, okay? Whereas if you were at that median or lower, you probably were not gonna have the luxury to have the experience part. Does that sound fair? So you're gonna see that resonated in the number one thing that your patrons want. So out of those 200 people, and this happens to be 160 that answered that, they would love to have someone with prior experience. Okay, prior experience is nice, correct? Okay, when I go in and heaven forbid have to have heart surgery or something done on my body, I would like to have somebody with a little bit of experience. Is this your first time doing open heart surgery? Oh, hey, well, let's keep looking, right? All right, let's see if I can find somebody else. Now, we're not doing brain surgery at the table, all right? But I think there's a big perception by patrons that, hey, we'd like for somebody that knows how to do that work, okay? Second one is this experience to how to run the district. There is certainly a side to this educationally about kids. You guys, and I got to meet those kids outside, the robotic students. Oh my gosh. Talk about the opportunities they're gonna have that a lot of other kids aren't because of their experience with that opportunity. But on the flip side, there's a big part of this. I sat with a lot of bus drivers today. They were trying to get me hired back in that back room there. But those people, guess what? You can't have school here in Morris County without them. I'd like to see you try anyway, all right? And so there's another side to this educational piece that's really critical. So can this individual do this? And the third one that you can see here is the experience with this diverse community. Many of our rural communities are becoming more impoverished, having more challenges. And is this individual, at least based on your patrons, is this individual equipped to be able to do that? Page 6. All right, I'm gonna give you about 5 minutes here, folks, to read through this. This is the single most critical issue that people that fill this out think that they need. Now, before you get too in depth, I wanna phrase it this way. Do we have any divers or gymnasts in here? Kids, anybody? None of you folks? So when you do a dive score or a gymnastics score, there's a reason they take off the top score and reason they take off the bottom. Why do you think that is?
Better average.
Better average. So when you read this, don't hang on to one comment one time that was mentioned about how good you are or how poor you are, but think more of the ones that are more theme-based, okay? Take a few notes in the margin and you're gonna report that out to your colleague. I'm gonna set my timer for 5 minutes, check in with you, and you're gonna do a quick report out of the themes that you find to your colleagues.
Through this whole thing, there's a place that you can go, these surveys. Yeah, they just come. Yeah. Now, I'm jumping track. Just like a couple extra points that I need. And my dad lives in there, so I think that's what this is gonna do.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Any more time, folks? You guys good to go? Board, if you're good, we'll kind of go around here real quick and just give me the highlights, okay, so the rest of your board can hear. But we'll just start right here with Terry. Anything that kind of resonated with you as maybe potentially areas of characteristics you can identify?
Obviously, communication and somebody that can help solve this divide that still seems to be in play.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I checked finances too, because it has to be somebody that's, that's aware and the ability to do that. But like Terry said, I mean, we've got a lot of people that maybe are confused as to how things were going on in the past, and would like a little bit more openness, I suppose, with everything.
It goes back to that communication being key. Okay, good. Kelsey?
Those are the two big ones, but a lot of comments about Prairie Heights and Alta Vista kind of feeling left out. So making sure that we're supporting them and including them and making them know that they're part of our district and just as important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Jay?
I think staff support was another pretty big thing I saw, is enable your staff, enable your leaders, and allow them to do their job and give them the support they need.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because one thing I heard as a positive is that we got good resources. And so how do we complement those resources to the people? To your point, might be kind of a good way to think through that. So thank you. Patty?
Some of the words I'm seeing a lot are like integrity. So someone that's got good integrity that that we can trust in the district. I see a lot. And then someone, as she kind of Kelsey referred to, that was someone that maybe can help unify the district and bring it together more.
Yeah, that culture came out. You'll see in the focus groups, that culture kind of resonated several times with people. And that unification, if you will, kind of to Kelsey's point as well, is how do we make everybody feel like they're part of the district and part of the success or the growth. So good. Jamie?
There's also quite a bit about small town, knowing the community, small town politics, understanding a rural area and the people here versus maybe how different that would be if they were coming from an urban area.
Good. Madam President.
Poverty is mentioned a lot. There's a lot about the social economic statuses and how those vary within our community, just having an understanding of what that looks like. And also understanding our students and their experiences.
Yeah. Good. Other comments, board, that
The teacher retention is one that I checked too, because I think we've got some really good teachers here, and we want to create an environment where they feel like they want to stay.
So to our example right here, got one question left, and then we'll do the focus group information. I want you to be thinking about, as this passion comes through with communication, unification, culture, whatever, how do we ask the right questions, right? I don't know any of you all that well, but how many of you do this all the time, right? And so we need to be thoughtful about what questions we want to ask and what experiences might you have to ensure that we care about staff and that we've built and grown those cultures in our prior jobs, all right? And so be thinking about what that might look like as we get to that point later this evening. Last question is one that, and we use a structure and we use this procedure and system for a reason. We do this all over the state. We do about 75% of the searches. And part of the reason we do is because we try to support the board in a process that is successful for them. Now, with that being said, come Friday night of interview week, you're gonna be kind of tired. Don's probably not gonna be smiling, okay, at me, okay? He'd be like, hey, come on, I didn't sign up for all this, all the extra pay, right? But we're gonna wanna be grounded in some procedure, and question 7 is all about that. So if you have 2 quality candidates, what is gonna be that one separating factor? And so that's what you'll see on page 7. What kind of always typically comes out, which is odd that we have to screen for this, to be fair, but how do we find someone that's honest, that has high level of integrity? And what questions do we ask Kelsey to ensure that they have that experience and they're able to do those things, right? Second one, that student first mentality. Love that this young man's here, going to Cloud County next year, gonna run track. Those are things that matter. That's why we're here, I hope. That's, you know, when you get together as a board, those 800 kids that reflect him, that's why school boards are together, right? And so how do we have a leader that can help lead that work so you are in the best position to make the best decisions? And the last thing, that positive personal support and development. I would think that's over encompassing with staff. You got a lot of good people. I know a lot of these people. Man, how do we get people to start to challenge themselves and challenge each other to get better? And that takes leadership. Comments, thoughts about the 208 people that took time out to give you input? Anything that we missed on that, folks? Probably, yeah. We can, and yeah.
Why do you feel, I mean, you do this every day. This is what you do for a good majority of your time throughout the year. Why do people skip these questions and not answer them?
Yeah, I think we see a high level of people that get on and they just want to see it, but necessarily don't want to give their input. I think they want to see what's being asked and possibly where they want to give comment, but there's probably some questions they could care less, or maybe they don't know how to answer. When you have 208 people, they all come from a way different perspective. I'm making some assumption there that the 160 that answered, the majority of them want to give their input. The other 40, if you will, really want to see what's being asked within the community and within this survey, but don't desire to give I don't have a better answer than that, to be honest.
Thank you.
That's common, unfortunately, in the survey. Yep. All right, folks, the next thing we're gonna do is review. So again, this is a second piece of data. This is our information that we collected. And to be fair, gotta thank Amber. Amber's done a lot of hard work this week, and not sure I've had a focus group or search opportunity that's been canceled, postponed 3 times. But if we do, she should get the award for that. I don't know what you get. I don't know if you get like a merit badge or what, but she deserves to get that, all right? Sorry. First of all, don't sit still, and second, I hate to be in somebody's back. So as we walk through here tonight, we're gonna do this part a little different than the survey. Okay, so cover letter, that just kind of describes the process, all right, I'll let you read that. The schedule on page 3, and page 4 is the number of participants. Okay, I would say a lot of this has to do with the weather. 23 is not a huge number, to be fair, all right? But a lot of it is not from lack of effort, but more of, we've changed it 3 times, and unfortunately, people are busy and adults are busy. And so that is a reflection of what we did the last couple days. Page 5, I'm gonna walk you through one page at a time. What I want you to do as a board member is I want you to, like on question 1, when we think about leadership and personal qualities, each board member is gonna come up with 2 to 3 that they think are important to them. We'll report out the whole board. Now, as we do this, I'm not gonna read to you what the patrons said, but this is good information of what our community or our focus groups, you could say, gave feedback on today. You could circle the 3 to 4 that you think are most important to you, and then we're gonna resonate that with all 7. Or you can take some of that and modify those to report out the ones that you think are most important as well, okay? So take the feedback you see here, that the time we spent with your staff and your stakeholders today, also be thinking about the information we got from our survey. We're gonna do 1 question at a time, so 2 to 3, and if you as a board, if you come up with 4, Jay, I'm not gonna shame you too bad, okay? Yeah, I might tell your mom, but I won't shame you too bad. But otherwise, come up with 2 and 3, and then we'll report out around the table, okay?
Numbers.
Oh, yeah, sorry, thank you, Ms. Henry. Numbers on the left are the number of times it's been said, so the higher the number, the more time, more frequency, okay? Yep, thank you.
No. Did I see you in your test? No. How come what's going on with that? You don't really get out of the city limits very often. You're gonna have to work at the bank, right? Not the district. We're both at. I'm out. You're not in trouble with one spot. I don't need to. I'm trying to fill a job. But I can do this pretty good if I was important.
I thought we should just I would buy a bag of gravy.
Hey, watch out.
I don't have good eyes. I was jumping over one to get tripped up by the other. Thank you.
I think I did that as well.
Is this another option? Yeah, just put the chair over the corner.
Am I coming on?
Yes, yes.
Come on now, we're good. Very good. That way he doesn't look like we do. I know, I'm very proud of you.
All right, how much more time we need, folks? A little bit more? Patty, you good to go, or? Sometimes we get some crock pots, and that's okay, all right? I'm more of a microwave, but not everybody is. All right, so Madam President, what are your 2 to 3 that resonate with you when you think about leadership and personal qualities?
Most important for me is wanting the best outcomes for students and staff. They're down at the bottom. Then my next 2 are lead by example, which model processes, decision-making, meeting, and relationships, approachable, character, and grounded.
Thank you. How about Jamie?
Integrity, trust, and connection, and quality listener and communicator.
Okay, good. Patty?
I have the same 2 as her.
Okay, good. So, and maybe I articulated this, maybe I didn't, but we'll take this, I'll send this back to you. This will be how we develop our questions, but this is how you're gonna tell me to screen the applicants. So we're gonna try to find someone that has a high level of integrity. What does that look like, right? We're gonna figure that out. Someone that's good with relationships, building that culture, someone that's a quality listener and communicator, and then we need to make sure that their experience matches that when you talk to them. And so that's kind of how this all dovetails together. Jay?
Supportive of leaders and systems and problem solver. And I also had integrity, trust, and connection.
I see problem solver at.
Down, bottom third.
Thank you. All right, Kelsey?
I had wanting the best outcomes for students and staff, integrity, trust, and connection, and then building relationships, being approachable, good character, and grounded.
Perfect, thank you. Don?
I like the approachability aspect of it, and integrity, trust. I mean, they're all interrelated, really. I mean, you're not gonna get too many of them that are doing 5 of these are not doing the other 5, so, I mean, but, I mean, obviously you gotta be a listener and a communicator to be able to do those things, so. But I also liked, the idea of having the students, obviously, in mind, as far as the main goals.
Good. Thank you. Terry? I had marked quality listener and communicator, relationships, peace, and the lead by example.
Okay, perfect. Anything that so the board always gets to decide, right? So anything that we left off that list, or you maybe didn't mention because you were trying to be polite and not do more than 3 maybe, anything that you feel like to you would be something we have to have that we didn't mention there?
I think the visibility piece is important, not as important as the other things, but if you're not out in the buildings and it functions, you're not gonna have any of that other stuff.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jamie.
Maybe a general ability to read a room too, to be able to adapt to the circumstances that you're being presented with.
Yeah, maybe like not picking on Jay, that probably was a misstep on my part.
That's open game.
And I think relatable, relatable with not just staff, but students,
I was gonna mention culture, which that kind of relates to what Patty said, building a good culture throughout the whole system, whether it's community in the schools with the kids, with admin, teachers. It's vital to have a good supportive system as a whole.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's slide over to page 6, folks. So as I tell our focus group areas, these next 2 I'm gonna kind of dovetail together. So instead of maybe giving 2 or 3, you might think about 1 or 2 on next 2 questions. If you think of it as a coin, the top side of that coin are the strengths. The strengths is someone or something that we want to identify that this superintendent can come in, complement, and maybe, if you will, maintain. Okay, I always use the joke that the worst thing you can do is come into a district and say you're gonna overhaul the homecoming parade, right? That's a big no-no, all right? That's a good way to get everybody fired up. But there may be some traditions here that are working great for people. You're gonna have to listen and figure it out, but you don't wanna tear those down. You wanna probably embrace those things. So what are the strengths? On the flip side, which will be on page 7, critical needs. Just as important though, we got some things we gotta fix, folks. And so what do we need this individual to be equipped with to be able to address? And so, I'll give you a couple minutes. Strengths, needs, identify 1 to 2 on each of those, and then we'll do a similar report out.
No.
All right, let's rock and roll. All right, Madam President, let's start with strengths. So strengths you'll find on page 6. Yeah, let's start. What are those strengths you highlighted?
You want 1 or do you want 2?
Hey, you're gonna tell me.
I am. Strong and passionate staff and strong community involvement and pride.
Perfect, thank you.
Those are also my 2, but I'd like to put strong and passionate staff / administrative team / district staff and combine all those strong staff categories together.
Yeah, just great people all the way around, right? Okay, good, yeah.
I just did one, but strong community involvement and pride of the communities.
Thank you, Jay.
Same thing as her, strong community involvement and pride.
Kelsey?
Strong and passionate staff.
We're getting pretty redundant here. I mean, because I had the same couple things marked. I mean, I think even though a lot of those things were negative, a lot of those comments were negative about, when in those areas, I think there's a ton of people in the community that are very passionate about school and what they're accomplishing, so.
Yeah, that's the hard thing, again, how I preface the survey is, you got a couple thousand people in this community? So, 1,800, let's say, didn't decide to vote or whatever. Those are the ones that maybe love it, right? So, yeah. Terry?
I took a little different spin because I think the staff is a piece that every school district would say about their people if they're sitting, I hope they would, if they're sitting in our roles. So I took this a little different as to what do we have that would differentiate us from other places, maybe what are a couple of those strengths. So I had marked nice facilities and convenient location. But I think the staff thing is, because I also had a note here that staff rolls up, I think all of that is an absolute given. But again, I'm concerned that if we're competing, every district is going to say that.
Yeah.
Or I hope they would. I hope their district feels that way about their people as strongly as we do.
Yeah, good insight. We'll start with you on critical needs, page 7.
I have marked adaptive to the challenges of the district and resource allocation for each building and each student.
Communication and keep the good teachers again. I've been here a long time and I've seen ebbs and flows and we've had great teachers in the past and there've been times when we've struggled to keep them, so I think we've got a lot of them now and I think it's important to get them in a position where they not only stay, but are staying because they want to stay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, thank you.
I've got 2 that flow together, the retention and then need substitutes and staff, just kind of that constant need.
Others?
I also put retention and also communication. But judging by the survey and the comments, a lot of people would like to have good communication from their leadership.
Yeah, fair. Penny?
Retention. I did the collaboration among all schools and teams, just because I felt like that encompassed several things on the list.
I did strategic plan. We did a lot of, with that, and that's long-term. That looks at where we're going in the future. And my second one was resource allocation, but I switched it for each student. I put the student in front of the building.
Anything we left out, board? Anything that we left out as far as needs in your purview? So last page 8, last question. You're gonna be challenged with what I hope is a difficult decision, right? That's my job, I hope, is to get you equipped, but also have a deep pool of candidates that you're like, ooh, wow, all these are good, right? So on that Friday night, once you end up on the end of the interview week and you have to make a decision, what is that one separating factor? Some of our boards, some of our people are like, well, I can't do one, or that's kind of silly. I'll be honest, you have to be really careful at the end of the night that you don't let one or multiple candidates sweep you off your feet a little bit, all right? Easy to do, all right? I got lucky once about 24 years ago, all right, with my wife. And so you'll have to be careful that whoever this person is that they have some substance that you're looking for. And so this is one of those pieces that helps ground you. And so what is that one factor that you feel like is most critical as you make a determining decision between 2 quality people? Ready? Yeah. We got.
Well, with high character, I think that encompasses a lot of things on this list. And a person with high character is going to have integrity, they're going to be ethical, they're going to just be a good person and a leader.
Thank you.
Exactly what I was gonna say.
I want them all. But I did check I think we've been looking at each other's papers. I did the high character too.
So the challenge, not the challenge of this, but the challenge to ask questions is to, as we look at those questions, not always tonight, but as you homework, if you will, before the February date, is not just asking, hey, give me what your definition of high character looks like, but give me some examples when it's been questioned and give me some examples when it's been, let's say, cherished, however you want to phrase that. But so be thinking through that. Kind of mentioned that out a little earlier. Sure.
I have the high character as well, but then I also, as a 1A, I guess, a team player.
Yeah, that resonates with our admin, I think, a little bit. Patty?
I have a hard time picking just one. But I would say high character is gonna cover a lot.
Yeah, okay.
I have high character, but I also, the integrity ethical, which is one that's kind of tricky. That's gonna be hard to flesh out in an interview process.
Yeah, can be, yeah.
Ditto, high character all the way across the board.
See how I told you it brings you together? Look at that, everybody has in common, right? Other thoughts or questions before we shift from this focus group to characteristics? I'll send that back to you. You'll get that in a form that you can use, digital form. I'll send that to Amber. And then I think I'll just transition, if I will, then right to your handbook. Oh, perfect. So let's just start with our homework process, and it dovetails right into this. So if you go to, let's say page 3032 for me. I'm gonna skip around a little bit here. So Amber's gonna give me a date of when we need to have this completed, which you got a little bit of time. I'll send those characteristics to you tomorrow. And then as you process that, let's say during the Chiefs game, when you're thankful you're not outside, all right? I want you to identify 15 to 20 questions, right? You say 18, you say 10, whatever. But each one of you will identify 15 to 20 questions that resonate and help align to achieve our goal of asking questions around those characteristics. Is that fair? All you need to do is, I don't know, text, email, whatever the easiest way, let Amber know, I want 112631. That's all you gotta do. You don't need to type them out. You don't need to do anything more than send her the numbers, okay? We just need to assign a date, Miss Amber, that would be appropriate. So if we close here, board can help me, would it be easier to do it sooner than later? Are you procrastinators, any of you? Okay, so if we set a deadline to just say, by the end of next week, by Friday the 19th, is that okay? Yes, no?
Yep.
Yep, okay. Now, what I'll tell you is that's not final, so if you'll email Amber and she'll send you a reminder, once I give her that information tomorrow, we'll get that right to you. She'll say, hey, I need it by the end of the day on the 19th. She'll tabulate that, put that in order, and then we'll start our meeting on the 12th with that information. You as a board in executive session will say, yeah, I love that, or hey, we need to tweak that, or love this question, but it's missing this, and then we'll have the characteristics right by there. You'll have a final swath at it, if you will. So this is first action, we'll have a second action. Does that sound appropriate, good for everybody? All right, so the 19th, Amber, you good with that? All right. All right, so let's shift over, folks, let's go to page 26. So a couple things I want to share with you. I want to make sure our dates are appropriate and they align with your schedule. And so as you think about, oops, that's wrong. Should be different. Here we are. So when you think about the timeline of this search, oops, I'm sorry. Obviously, I have trouble doing more than one thing at once.
No, I don't want another one. I'd like 4 of them. Because Amber and I have eating and drinking this.
So first thing I want to do is I want to make sure our timeline is what you need, all right? So we approved this timeline before some of you are on the board. And so some of you are like, hey, come on now. We got a new board. We got to have a new conversation. So I want to walk through this with you really quick. We've already posted a job. We're already getting inquiries, already getting phone calls about the position, okay? So that part's taken care of. That's the first 3 boxes, if you will. We've already given the survey. We're up to January 8th, which is actually January 11th, all right? But we're here doing that today with the focus group. So we're done to that point. What we need to decide is February 1st is not a critical date to me, but February 12th is. If we close and have the job be ready for you, if I will, give you the applicants on February 12th, does that work for you? If it works for you, we're going to do the interviews fairly quickly after that. 13th, 14th, 15th, I spent a little time in Jay's office today looking at some of the schedules a little bit, his ball games, making sure that if we do that, will that work with the board schedule? Any heartburn on that? This is where that heartburn would be right now.
I think that the conversation is that we need to be aware that we probably need to go into executive session at the start of the meeting on the 12th, so that we can have that conversation and dialogue with you, because we have a member of the board that is not going to be in the room and will be available on Zoom, and then we'll need to jump off. So I think that we need to preface starting the meeting with the special, or with the executive session.
I can be here anytime you want. Absolutely. So that night will probably take, I'm gonna say 90 minutes-ish, depending on how many candidates you have. If you got 4 candidates, it's gonna take an hour. If you have 8, it's probably gonna take 90 minutes, okay, give or take. That night only is for us to exhaust every candidate. So if we have 10 candidates, we're gonna talk about every one in some depth. And then we're gonna talk about the finalists in a little deeper depth, okay? So if we do that on February 12th, is that a regular scheduled board meeting?
Yes, it is.
Okay, are you guys good with that? A little long?
Good with me.
Okay. All right, so with that being said, I'll alter the close date, okay? The close date's probably gonna be the Thursday prior, to be honest. The 8th. That doesn't impact you hardly at all right? So we'll close it on the end of the 8th. I'll screen on the 9th. I'll be to you on the Monday, okay? Now, the other thing we need to decide is what are the preferable dates of interviews? You do not have school on the 16th, is that correct? So we need to plan on 3 to 5 dates. The thing I never know is if, and I'll pick on Jamie, maybe Jamie has a kid that plays basketball, it's an all-star, okay? And maybe Patty has a wrestler, I don't know what it is. But some of those we may have to miss, but we don't want to miss all of them, right? And so if we do the 13th, 14th, 15th of that week, that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the 19th, 20th, does that give you heartburn as a board? Your job, board members, would be, when you tell me, if you could be here at 5:30, we'll start every night at 5:30. If you can be here at 6, you'll give me that barometer. But that'll be 3 to 5 nights in a row, and we need to identify 3 to 5 nights. Do those dates work? Are there any conflicts on those?
Great, about the calendar, if you want those dates we talked about.
Yeah, and Jay, if you just highlight real quick, what are the conflicts on those?
On the 13th, there is away high school basketball. 14th, we don't have any activities. The 15th, we have junior high wrestling. The 19th, we have away high school basketball and away junior high wrestling.
20th open.
20th, we have a home junior high wrestling tournament. That should be it on the 20th.
So you got a couple away basketball games, and it sounds like you have 2 home junior high wrestling tournaments. Did I hear that correct?
Yeah, 1 home and 1 away.
Oh, 1 home and 1 away. Does that give the board any heartburn on those nights? May not use them all.
20th is parent-teacher conferences for
That's
elementary, which
That's heartburn.
may or may not be a problem. There's usually 2 nights, so it shouldn't be a.
Those of us, we could just let the teachers know that we need to schedule the next night.
I think the during the day will work, because these folks are gonna be here during the day. And I would recommend you, once we get to that point, to simulate somewhat like we did today with similar groups throughout the district. And I'll give you a little detail of that. So those 5 dates, going once,
What are they again? I have a junior high wrestler, so that's 3 of the 5, but I obviously don't have to go to all of those.
So 13, 14, 15,
15.
and 19, 20. We can move one of those, Kelsey, that's kind of why I'm asking.
20th, it may be,
I say those are 3.
20th at home one may be done in time before your board meeting.
I'm like, I don't have to make all of them, but I don't want to miss all 3 either.
No. Oh, that's kind of important.
13th, 14th are fine. Does it work for everybody else though?
21, do you guys have, what's any complication on July or February 21?
I'm open that night.
Your stuff during the day can be tricky because district leadership.
I was gonna say, we have a lot of stuff going on that day with
That's
teachers.
curriculum director.
Sorry.
Is it a day off though, or no?
No, I just have a lot of teachers out
Okay.
in the morning, so we have district leadership.
What about 22nd, 23rd?
No school on the 23rd.
That's 22nd, folks.
High school administration would be on those days.
On Thursday?
They have to meet with the.
Grappling?
I was gonna say. Meet with groups and so with.
Oh, okay.
No, we're
During
at
the day
night,
for
it's what they do during the day,
Okay, sorry,
because
I'm getting old.
Dr. Hart, so there's only 2 of us sitting in this room that have been through this process before. So can you talk about, the reason that we're coordinating all these schedules is because this individual is going to come in to our district on that day and talk about what these days look like for us, so that everyone understands, please.
Yeah, let's slide back to page 22 and I'll give you an example. So, my priority, and no offense to Jay, but my priority is make sure the board's here, okay? And we're gonna, as you can see, we got activity after activity and conflict after conflict. So the board's gonna need to make a decision as best we can. And we don't necessarily need to make it tonight, but just need to know that if we have 3, it's probably easier. If we have 5, we're gonna have to find that other date. But what you need to let Amber and I know is, let's start with the easy part, okay? What's the soonest that the board wants to get their interview, dinner / whatever that looks like started in the evening? 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7? What's that look like for you as a board?
6 o'clock for me.
6 o'clock's good.
6, okay. Everybody good on 6? All right, so what I would say, and you can use any one of these schedules, okay? Let's use that top or the middle schedule, schedule 2. But we'll start at 6 o'clock, let's say with dinner. Dinner is an executive session. Now, the board doesn't need to do a dinner unless you want to. What I love about dinner, folks, of course I love to eat, but what I love about dinner though is that's that informal part you get with those candidates. Oh, Terry, you like barbecue? Man, I love barbecue too. Or, hey, you know, my kids play softball or whatever it is, right? The things typically you can't ask in an interview, oh man, I went to church Sunday. Oh really, where'd you go to church? Can't ask that in an interview, okay? But they just volunteered that in our dinner, okay? Those things, it's not a sneaky way to do it, it's just a way to meet somebody's personality. I like that part, that start at 6, 6:30-ish. Take short recess, wash your hands, get you a drink, and then come back here and do your formal part of the interview, okay? Does that sound good so far? Push back if you don't like it. So then once we go backwards, I think typically what I would recommend to you is you do some type of meet and greet with your community. Okay, and that's gonna be right after school-ish. Part of the reason we do it after school is because we want our staff to be able to come, see? So we normally get out of school at what time? 3:10?
3:45.
Come on.
3:38.
Okay, so we'll do it at, right at 4 o'clock, because it takes you 15-minute drive. A little bit longer Monday when I was here because of snow. So for example, you would want to do a 4 o'clock meet and greet. So if staff wanted to stick around before they went home, or they had to run a grocery store, whatever, 4 o'clock, patrons, community members, staff, meet and greet at 4 o'clock. Then what I would advise you to do is then work backwards, similar to what we did today and Monday, is I would want to make sure I spend some time at Prairie Heights. I'd want to make sure I spend some time at Council Grove Elementary. I'd want to spend time at the district office. Jump over to the middle school and the high school. Are there other facilities that I'm not aware of that we want to go in and out of?
And Valerie, just so you know, you've been designated the person to transport and provide tours those days. So you need to make sure your schedule is clear, please, and thank you.
Block it off.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
That's other duties is assigned number 25 on your JOB. Okay, so what we'll do then is we'll build a schedule. Typically the candidate, and I'll work with Amber, but typically the candidate will come in sometime mid-morning, okay? They're gonna have some time with the central office staff. They're gonna have some time with the principals. And then they're gonna start a rotation around the buildings probably. They may do a little bit of or may take them around a little bit of the community, and maybe there's, I don't know, sheriff's department, mayor, whatever you as a board think's important. Let them see a little bit of your dynamic here, to be fair. Most of these candidates are gonna interview with you, have probably done their homework, okay? If they're worth their salt, they're gonna identify a few of those things. Hey, can you drive me by here, or can you show me this? Those things are probably important to them, okay? If they're worth their salt, they probably came in the weekend before to check out, you know, what's the housing look like, what's the lay of the land, so they kind of have a little bit of familiar. You know, we didn't go to Dwight. Is Dwight part of your district? You know, I mean, those kind of things. And so that will encompass the tour. So I want to have a little bit of tour, time with central office, time with admin. When I mean time with admin, I'd probably go 45 minutes-ish, maybe over lunch, whatever it might be, whatever you guys tell me, okay? And then we'll go to each building, get ready for the meet and greet, do meet and greet from 4 to 4:30, have a little bit of a break in there, and then get them geared up, jazzed up for 6 o'clock for you. Sound good?
Does the board have any communication with the admin, like how their meeting went? Like, I'd like to be able to talk to them about what their feelings and thoughts are.
Tell you what, Jay, a new board member never asked that. That's pretty distinguished, okay? That's good. All right, yes. Hold that thought just a second. Yes.
So the other thing that we needed to note is that we will not be releasing the candidate's name until that day
Preferably.
in the community. So while the board knows who these candidates are and we've set up a date with them to come, that's not something that is released to the community until the day that they're in their community, because that protects them in their current role, and with their districts. So just so everybody has a heads up, it's not something that we release prior to that date. They know the day of is when the community and community members get an introduction, admin, get to know who those people are.
Doesn't happen very often, but at times I find out that Dawn's interviewing Tuesday and Terry's like, I can't beat Dawn. This is just figure speech. But Terry's gonna say, I'm not doing that. I'm not going Friday. And Dawn or Terry calls and says, hey, I'm dropping out. So you guys don't look great and that person doesn't look great. So we keep that confidential until the day of. And so if Terry decides to come Friday, we'll announce Terry Friday, to your point.
The other thing that we need to factor into this is that even if we say 5 days and we've narrowed it down to 5 candidates, there are multiple searches going on across the state that are doing these at the same time, and these people could have already,
Be quick.
yeah,
Yep.
jumped into someplace else and may let us know if they're not coming even after we've.
And I'll bring all that information to you on the 12th. You'll have more information you want, okay, to be fair. You're gonna know everything about them. You're gonna know if Jamie is interviewing over at Holton. Holton's open. And you're gonna know that Jamie's gonna interview on a Thursday. Can we get Jamie here on a Tuesday? You're gonna know that information if you choose to. You may say, hey, we're not interested in Jamie. Let Holton have Jamie. But those are gonna be the things that you're gonna have as information on Monday, the 12th. Other questions specifically about the schedule, structure, who to entail, who not to include, anything like that? We'll build it based on our dialogue here. You got enough information in there? Okay, all right, let's slide back over to page 26. I'm gonna go through this just a little bit, and then I'm gonna get to make sure I get to Jay's point, because it's built into this checklist. So I'm not gonna cover all these right now, it's too much. First board meeting, I just wanna do a quick overview, but if you circle page 26, this is your go-to. I will cover it more next time, but questions not to ask, okay? Can't ask, hey, are you married? What church you go to? What's your preference on life, okay? Can't ask those things. We wanna keep you out of the weeds on that. We don't want someone to feel like that there was a bias set up when they come in. Try to create a level of fidelity here. We're gonna talk about questions. We've already assigned that. 19th, everybody good? We have Valerie, thank you very much. That is number 3 checkbox. Look at this. Ooh, that's done. Now, Valerie's opportunity is just to really be the chauffeur and the tour person to answer questions and really make them feel welcome. These people wanna be part of your district. When they leave, Tuesday night after the interview, we want them to think they want to be part of your district. So all these little things, I've talked with Amber a lot tonight or today. What do those little things look like? She'll have those things set up, food, logistics, possible room if they need it. That might be a little harder here in Council Grove, we'll figure out, but some of these folks might be traveling a little farther than others. If they're not, they're gonna come in, they're gonna come out. Stop me if you have questions. So on the fourth one is to Jay's point. We do have a mechanism to get feedback. And if you go to page 33, I'll show you what that mechanism looks like. So on page 33, and you'll have to decide, I told the admin this because this is one of their questions too, which I think is valid, is how do we get feedback during this process? All right, now, to be fair, we've already asked feedback from the survey. We've asked feedback from the focus groups. Those are two ways, okay? So if a patron says, hey, Jamie, you guys didn't ask any, really? Okay, we've done two things already. Now, what Jay's asking is this is a structured way to get feedback from your admin or other stakeholder groups. Now, do you only ask your admin team? That's up to you to decide as a board. Are there other groups that you'll want to use a similar structure with? That to me needs to be consistent. So if Tasha Green knows, if Miss Messer knows that she's only going to be 2 out of the 4 interviews, I'll be honest, I don't want Tasha's feedback. It's going to be skewed, right? So we're going to have to structure this in a way that if Tasha's going to be able to see and meet all 4 of them, absolutely want her feedback. But it does you no good, Jay, or board, if you get feedback from Tasha and she's only got to meet 2 out of 4. That's the complexity of the feedback loop. And so who and what groups would you want to entail? Typically what I would do is we have paper, pencil, and we hand them out to those groups that we want them to hand out to, and we hand those back to Amber, and then they would get you that feedback prior to the board meeting of the night of the candidate, okay? So if Jay's coming in for the interview at 6 o'clock with the board, 5:30, we would provide that information to the board so you could see some of that feedback already, and maybe think about how you're gonna ask your questions or alter some of the thinking around that. Desire of the board. What would you like to see done? Don't necessarily need to make that decision tonight, but that's kind of how that process works.
I like the feedback. I just question whether it could be like a Google form where it would tabulate it so that nobody's having to do the legwork, but it's a pretty quick turnaround time.
What's that logistic look like? I don't know. Admin's probably not a problem. Are you gonna ask your just central office staff? I mean, those kind of things are questions you have to ask. Are you gonna, ask certain people in each building, like the NE area? I don't know. I'm just teasing that out to you, so that way, come time to feedback, you don't get a bunch of hate mail, all right? So, something to process right now. So come equipped on the 12th meeting of who you want to engage. We'll have a process ready for you. It'll look similar to this, but who do you want to make sure you engage? Okay, and we'll have it ready and have it in action for you to make happen. Okay. Jan, or other comments that I didn't answer on that? Does that cover that? We'll slide back 26. We got the interview dates. We've got the organization. We've got the food. These will all be executive session, folks. These are all special meetings. The 12th is going to be modified, but it's not necessarily a special meeting. It's your general, but you're going to have an executive session, la-di-da-di-da. Everything we share those nights are going to be privileged. I would say the confidential file, all that kind of stuff, and we'll explain that a little bit later, but each meeting will be executive session. I don't, or would prefer you not do the dinner in open session. That's up to you. But to me, it's between you and the candidate, all right? That's an opportunity where I get to know Don's personality. He's a poker player. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't want to do that in front of a bunch of people. I want to be able to do that over, something that's a little bit less structured, that I can be more myself. And so again, that's typically how that works. I think I'll hold tight on how we offer, when we offer, and what we do, but I will preface this, that we want to move fairly quickly. So if we got 4 candidates and they're somewhat back to back to back, and we end, let's say on a Tuesday. We want to make a decision as best we can on Tuesday. Call that person, Kelsey, man, we really loved you coming in on last week, especially when we're splitting weeks like that. Loved you coming in, board would love to offer you a contract. First thing she's gonna say, I can hear her say right now, tell me if I'm wrong. Hey, can I have 24 hours to talk to my family, right? Booyah. Now, grant you, hey, Kelsey, I'm on the other line, how come you didn't already talk to him, right? You know, but anyway, that's gonna happen. Yeah, so 24 hours. If it's Tina Ray, gonna say, hey, and it's Tuesday night, go, hey, we're gonna talk on Wednesday afternoon. You're the driver, not her, not them. You're the driver. Call you back Wednesday afternoon. Are you available too? Great, all right, awesome. Be prepared as a board, and this is how we'll end tonight with the salary comparison. Be prepared as a board is what I'm gonna offer Kelsey. We'll say my range is 100 to 110,000. We're not gonna offer 110 right out of the gate, but we're gonna say, we know exactly what Kelsey's making now. We know what she anticipates. She anticipates 105. Let's not slap her in the mouth. Let's say, hey, love for you to be our superintendent, 106.5. Okay, let's be generous instead of being, hey, I think we can get you in there about 99.5, right? Automatically, she has a different taste in her mouth versus going, yes, all right, boom, yeah, you know what I mean? And so as a board, you're gonna wanna be thoughtful of that. And as a board, you wanna give Tina Ray the autonomy. Here's the range. Don't give the farm on night one, okay, give the farm on night 3, okay? What are your fringe benefits? Okay, to be honest, I haven't looked at all those yet, but do you offer a car, do you offer insurance, do you offer family, do you offer cell phone, all those things, have that range and have that in your pocket. If you would allow us, Amber's gonna send the contract to KSB. Your contract looks a little different, I'm gonna be fair, this is open information, but you pay pretty healthy. Your current or your past, you have a pretty competitive salary, okay? That's good. It's gonna be hard to go much down, all right? Once you kind of let that paste out of the tube, it's hard to jam it back in there, all right? But I will tell you that you're fairly competitive right now. And so you need to think about that. Is the language that's in your current contract, not for your interim, but your current contracts, is that the language you want moving forward? Now, that's gonna be attorney, they're gonna bring that back to you, they're gonna give you some suggestions. If any of your attorneys in here? You always say.
But Angie told us we needed to rework our contracts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're always gonna be on this side of, no, and I'm always on the side of, hey, don't lose the best candidate over $5,000. There's something in between there, okay? I don't have to live to be an attorney, I get to live to secure your person, all right? So you as a board need to decide what that realm and what your comfort level is in all those factors. Salary, fringe, contract language, fair? What have we left out that you need more information about or thought that I would cover tonight as part of this process? Your duty, somebody else's duty, anything we haven't spoke about that we need to visit about? Brain hurt yet, Patty?
Yeah.
Thank you.
On these nights, how much time roughly? I'm assuming meal, interview, debrief, are we talking like 3 hours?
So, oops, sorry about that. So
Just
yeah, interview's gonna take you about 2 hours, 2 hours, 15 minutes, depending on how windy the candidate is. I will tell you, sometimes the more experience they have, the more they like to talk. The more follow-up questions that Don asks, the longer that's gonna take. If Don asks a follow-up question of night 1, he's gonna ask a follow-up question of night 2, night 3, night 4. So I'm not gonna cover this because you guys can read, and to be fair, you need to have a lot of this conversation in executive session. But this is a simplistic way to look at this. Any of you sports-minded? Do you like sports? Anybody in here? Anybody hate sports? It's okay if you do. But I think of this as a rank. So I'm gonna use my student liaison here. It's kind of like if we're at the track, if you get first, is that better than getting second?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you get 7th, is that better than 8th?
Yeah.
Is it better than first? No. Okay. So, very good, graduate the kid. What I'll tell you is that we got 286 districts, folks, 286. You're the 101st largest, okay? there's only 100 larger and there's a bunch smaller, okay? So if you will, you're not quite in the middle, but you're on the top half. Now, if this number below on the salary is less, means you're more competitive than if it was on the backside. My student liaison, your student liaison did a nice job. So if that number was 150 versus 50, I'd be saying, hey, you need to push the pedal down a little bit and quit being, don't hold those strings quite as tight. Since it's at 50, we've outkicked our coverage a little bit, haven't we? He just went from 7th place to 5th pretty quick. All right, that was a really good jump, by the way. So what I mean is when you look at this rank, it means you're being fairly competitive. You're right where you need to be, or maybe even a little bit better. Fringe, yeah, fringe is average, but it makes up in salary. It's all potato patata. So if you had a little less salary, a little more fringe, a little less salary, whatever it is, okay? You can see how it ranks together. You can see how it ranks within the region classification league, okay? And all that data is right behind there for you to look at. I would keep that next time you come together, whether it's your next board meeting or when I see you in February, you need to start having a little bit of conversation about this. This is gonna take you some time. Pick on Jay and Patty. They're new to the board and they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm not used to this, right? I'm not used to looking at these numbers. I don't make that amount of money, right? You know, whatever the case might be. So you need, as a board, need to have some time to absorb that and work through that, so that's not an issue as you offer the candidate. Questions on any of the salary information?
Do we have information on how many other schools are looking for superintendents also?
I can get that for you. It's about 23 right now.
And how they, how they kind of fit in the scheme of things, like.
I can get you.
It may not make any difference, but I mean, just for.
No, we can send you the schools, and the size is probably your best benefit. And the reason I say that is if you look at the realm of 2 to 4A schools, you're competing with the same candidates.
Sure.
If you're looking at Shawnee Heights that I'm doing, probably not. There might be some people in the candidate pool that think they're ready, but they're not. But yes, I can get you that information. Anything else you need from that information, like what Dawn asked? So I think it was 23, it might be 24, but we have that current data. And we're doing most of those, so we have pretty accurate data too, so. What did we leave out tonight before Alma and I walk out this door? Patty, there's a midnight curfew, you can't go past midnight.
No worries.
Kelsey wants to make sure that we have the dates for
I
the
just want to
interviews
lock them down,
scheduled.
Okay,
if we could. That's okay with everybody?
lock them in, board, you tell me what you want, this is your show.
Is the 13th okay for
You
everybody?
let me know, I'll be there. I got no life.
So 13th at 6, these are all at 6, correct?
Yep. So 13th to go.
13th. And I'll be available whenever as well. It'll work.
What about 14?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good on 14, board? What about 15? Hearing none, 15's good, we're 3 in a row. What about 19? Kelsey was one that you had heartburn about.
Well, I don't want to mess everybody else up.
Well, we may end up, we may end up only
Jay, you
having,
said Tuesday would be done by then. I can make one of the
Tuesday
3.
starts at 3, and what time did you say you're gonna start?
6 o'clock with this group.
We're usually done by 6:30 or 7 that night, so.
Okay. If I can make it to one of the 3, I'll be happy.
But if you miss dinner on that night, I mean, that's kind
Is
of
that all right?
informal, so
Yeah,
Yes,
so you're here
yes,
for
I was hungry,
the actual
yeah.
interview piece and.
There's hot dog at the rest.
Because if we're eating between 6.
Kelsey, chili dogs or just hot dogs?
All you were missing was dinner, I think. That's been done, like I said, 6:30 or 7.
I don't want to mess everybody else up for me.
But if we're eating from 6 to 6:30, and then we're gonna take a 15-minute break, it's gonna be
Okay.
6:45 before we start the interview
Okay.
process.
Yeah, the
So,
19th is okay.
Okay, 20th if we need it.
So we got 4 days.
You guys are out the end of the week, Jay.
So the 20th is the one, Kelsey, that is here. The 19th is at Marion.
Oh, shoot. Okay, so I'm sorry, 13th, 14th, 15th, 20th? 19th, 20th.
And the 20th is here if needed. Reserve it, but may not.
And what about the Wednesday? So let's say we wanna shift and leave Monday open,
The 21st for no.
21st, that was right,
That's
okay.
not
Our
working.
chauffeur says no.
Sorry.
And the 22nd
High school admin is gone
on the Thursday?
and Friday.
22nd, yeah, this year, it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday thing, so.
And I'll tell you what, I gotta get that roll. Are you going to that day? Okay, we can do it then, we're good. No, okay. All right, so right now we got 13, 14, 15, 19 or 20, depending on how many we have. Is that
What could help Kelsey is if you went to the 20th first instead of the 19th, so that if you only had 4, she could still go on the 19th and catch some of your son's stuff on the 20th also.
Yeah, that's a good
Whatever
idea.
works best for everybody.
So
It's fine by me.
priority would be 20, last priority would be 19, perfect. All right, awesome.
Okay, and I like that. I just think I owe it to the group to say this is gonna be highly competitive. And the longer we wait, the more competitive it's
I'm
going
good
to
with
become.
going. It's okay.
So, I mean, I'm
I'm
fine
good
with us
going.
doing that. I just think it needs to be put out there.
No, I say we stick with what is fine.
I'll bring, so when I come back the 12th, a couple things that'll help you make your decision, solidify that, will be the number of jobs that have common candidates. That's the number one thing. If you got 2 or 3 jobs that are gonna be right in this window, boom, that's something you gotta really pay attention to. I don't think salary's gonna be an issue. If we only have 3 candidates, it's not a big issue anyway. But if we have 5 and you decide to do 5, that'll be something you have to hurdle. So, yeah. Other questions, folks, before we part ways? You guys got a busy night. You can contact me through Tina Ray or Amber. If there's anything between now and the next time, reach out. More than likely, the rest of the board has the same question. We'll get the information out. Tomorrow morning, we'll send you the characteristics. Next Friday, you'll do questions. Perfect, thank you. Good to see everybody.
You're a busy guy.
Welcome to the board.
Would everybody like to take a 5-minute bio break? That would let us get Mrs. Meyer back in the room and make sure that all of our devices are still. So we'll take a 5-minute recess, please. Thank you, everyone. I know that was a lot. Hopefully we can click through these next items pretty quickly. So our next item on the agenda is accept the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas Foundation Healthy Habits for Life grant. So Mrs. Reddick, this was the grant that was proposed to us last time.
Yeah, well, this is the grant that, I've actually done this in years past. We've focused on physical activity, we've done nutrition a few times. This time we chose to focus on reinforcement of positive mental health. And so we were awarded the full $2,000 that you could apply for if the board accepts.
There's a motion in your packet, and what we're actually looking for is approval to accept the $2,000 worth of funding. And then those items would be used for helping students dealing with anxiety and or deregulation to prepare to enter back into the classroom.
Madam President, I move to approve the, do you want me to read all of that?
No, you can just.
The grant as presented.
Is there a second? I'll second. Moved by Kelsey, seconded by Jamie to approve the grant as presented. Is there any further discussion or questions for Mrs. Reddick?
Just thank you for applying.
Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Just so everybody knows, we're on page 62 in the packet, if that helps. The next item is the FFA trip, and it looked like Mr. Green had to leave, so.
I told Taylor I'd present, he's got young kids, so I told him he could head home. Taylor, so the information on this is a yearly trip that we take. It's a contest of the Missouri Welding Institute in Nevada, Missouri on January 25th. So we're asking permission because it's going out of state. There's 4 seniors that are signed up to go. Each student gets a $1,000 scholarship for participating. So it's very beneficial to get kids to this. Our kids have been extremely successful at this one. The winner of the contest received a full ride scholarship and an $8,000 welder. So, like I said, this is a big one. Our kids like to go. Our kids are competitive. And then it says one of the students competing, one of our students, one of our 4 that is competing is attending the Missouri Welding Institute next year. So this would be a huge opportunity scholarship-wise for our students. So it's a yearly trip. Great one to send our kids to. I'm asking permission to leave the state for a trip.
I move that we approve the FFA trip to Nevada, Missouri for the Missouri Welding Institute's welding competition on January 25th, 2024.
Seconded. It's been moved by Jamie, seconded by Kelsey to approve the FFA trip to Nevada, Missouri for the Missouri Welding Institute's 2024 welding competition on January 25th. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next thing that we have in our packet are the KSB policies and forms that were submitted to us in December of 2023. Mrs. Meyer is going to talk about those. We did not put those on the December board meeting because you have to look at them, have a discussion about them, and then approve them. That would not have been fair to the 3 of you that are just coming on to try to approve something that you haven't had an opportunity to look at. So tonight's our first opportunity to have a discussion.
So I gave you a quick cheat sheet, and usually all the KSB updates are usually because of federal law or state law or wording has changed, and it's to our advantage to accept them. However, I do not propose the JDDAA, student misuse of medication, or JGFGBA, student self-administration of medication, because of the lack of the time to meet with Mrs. Reddick this week to discuss those. Our handbooks have different wording in it, and we need to look at those two before we actually make a motion that does not jive with our handbook. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One is evacuations and emergencies. Gives autonomy to the district staff to make a local safety decision. You know, we're told hide, or we're told to run, or we're told different things if we have an active shooter or some danger to our kids. And this gives autonomy to our staff to make that decision in the building. Food service management, just some wording again about the charge limit and how we collect to get meals that have been unpaid. The new one is the pregnant and parenting employees, and this is compliance with the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act and the Pump Act, and that tells us that any pregnant employees have the right to breaks, time off their feed, etc. And the Pump Act, we must provide some type of location for a mother coming back to work that needs to express milk privately. So just going along with new federal laws in the workplace. Uniform Service League is something we've had all along. It's just a title change. It's about if one of your employees was in the National Guards and was deployed, you would have to give them relief to be deployed and to give them their job back when they returned, basically. And release of a student during the school day, it's modified on evacuations, emergencies, where administrators have the right to not automatically release a student. Because they're giving them the autonomy to know whether or not that's in the best interest of the safety of the student. So usually when a parent calls in and says, I want my kid to leave, they can say, we're under lockdown and we're gonna keep them here until they're safe, and then they can leave.
So the full policies are in your packet with the strikeouts and the underline. Those changes are made in red that are there. So again, today is just a presentation of these. and an opportunity to have a discussion regarding what these policies are. And then we will bring the policies forward again at our February meeting for approval by the board. So if there's any questions that you have, please make sure that you reach out to Mrs. Meyer regarding those. And again, we will be holding off on the JDDAA and the JGFGBA policies until we've had an opportunity to review those with Mrs. Reddick.
Can I just say one thing about that? Just to clarify some of the reasoning why I wanted to make sure we looked at it real good was because our policy right now in our handbooks says that students are not allowed to carry and self-administer unless they are like EpiPens, albuterol inhalers, or diabetic medications. So, there's some contradiction in the wording if we just automatically adopt that and our handbooks say that the children can't even carry anyway. So that's why I just wanted to make sure we fix the wording.
Any other questions or discussion regarding the policies at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to the item number 5, USD 417 committees regarding board representatives on the district site council, the professional development council, and the nominations or negotiations committee.
So district site council meets, Valerie?
We have 2 more meetings for this year. We meet about 4 times a year. March 27th and May 8th are our next 2 meetings. We meet from 8 to 11 in the morning. But like I said, about 4 times a year, so.
All right, and the professional development council?
Those we meet after school. 4:30 is usually start time, and then we're usually done by 5:30 probably, I think we try to be done by 5:30. That is a little more often. We meet about 6 times a year, so every other month. And both of those are, you're in a team with district representatives, so.
And the negotiations representative must be trained, like to be on the negotiations team. We will meet with the teachers here soon. We must have our letters exchanged by the end of March. It used to be the end of February, or end of January, the end of March. And most of those negotiations are all take place in the evening or after school. And I think Jamie and Tina Ray are both certified to be on that committee.
I did attend the negotiations training at the KASB conference. When was that, November? So I did get certified because I knew Marie was leaving from that committee.
So Marie Blythe sat on all of these committees previously, and we wanted to wait until new board members had taken your oath and taken your seat at the table to give you an opportunity, if you wanted to participate in these committees, to place that out there. And then these appointments would stand through July 1. That's normally when we appoint these positions at our July meeting. So each one of these would be a separate nominee and motion for each one of these positions. So the very first one we're going to start with is the district site council. And we're just going to ask if there's anyone who would be interested in attending or available to attend those meetings. Jay? Anyone else available? Jay, are you comfortable with doing that, moving forward? Right. Then I would nominate Jay Troxel to fill the position for the district site council nominee.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of having Jay Troxel serve as our district site council nominee, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next one is our professional development council nominee. Again, there are 3 meetings that are scheduled. January 31st, March 20th, and April 24th. Is there anyone who's interested in serving in that capacity? Val, do you want to talk a little bit about what that role is, what that looks like?
Sure. So that committee approves all of our professional development points for our teachers. So to renew their license, they have to have those points. So we help to guide teachers in how to put those into the system. We approve their points. We talk about our professional development as a whole as a district, what our goals are, what our plans are. Tasha is our admin rep. What am I missing on PDC?
Yeah, we have an admin rep. We have 2 members from Council Grove Elementary, 2 members from Council Grove Junior Senior High, and 1 member from Prairie Heights. Yeah, honestly, it's kind of a fun committee to be a part of because you really get to see all of the extra things that our staff are doing. Obviously, they'll submit points for our in-district things, but they also submit points for things they do on their own. And we also award them salary movement points based upon that. So we do have some guidelines up to things that we're approving or not approving. And so it is a neat committee to be a part of if you're interested in more of the instruction and professional development of our staff members.
One fun thing we get to do this year is it is our cycle to redo our long-range PD plan. So they don't know this yet, but we're gonna be diving into that very soon. So that's a big thing that we'll be taking on as our big PD plan for our district, so.
I'd be willing to do that one.
Okay. I nominate Kelsey to serve on the Professional Development Council.
Second.
Been moved by Tina Ray, seconded by Jay. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Yeah, it's fine. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Again, the next item is the nomination or the negotiations committee. Again, Jamie and I's names are there because we are the ones that have already completed the coursework that's available for that. But if someone else is interested in sitting in that role, we can make sure that you get the training necessary to do that. Those will kick off shortly. What that process involves is having the conversations and the discussion regarding what we are going to place in our letter. Then we get a letter back from the KNEA representatives within our district. We have conversation and dialogue back and forth. Then in negotiation meetings, we come back and present to the board about where we are. The board then gives us authority to go back. All of these conversations are held with the board in executive session, and eventually we create a document that then we use moving forward for the teacher contracts for the following year to 2 years. We have been doing 2-year contracts.
Majority of the items or major items we talk about, always the salary, insurance and benefits, sick leave, personal leave, maybe their work day, the number of days on the calendar. What else do you think? How we handle professional development, how many days are required during the year, just a list of things. We're always required to talk salary and benefits, always. So we are mandated to have those 2 items in our letters, and anything else that the board is interested in discussing.
There's no set date or timeline for those because that depends on how the negotiations process actually goes, whether it's smooth sailing or if it's something that actually winds up going even to mediation or further moving forward. So there are some school districts currently that are still discussing contracts for this current school year because they're still in mediation from last year. So, it's one of those things, that's why there's no timeline or anything listed there, because it depends on how the process goes.
I move to approve.
Second.
Tina Ray and Jamie in the negotiations.
Super.
When does it all start? When does it all start?
So we actually will start having conversations with the board and what that letter looks like prior to that letter going out. We have to have that letter to them by March 31st. So in our February board meeting and our March board meeting, we will actually have some conversations regarding negotiations. And then they have, once the letters are sent, then they have so many days to respond, then we have so many days to respond to their letter, and it goes back and forth as timelines are set.
And we hope by the time we're having exchanged letters and that we have conversations, that the legislature has maybe decided what our per student payment is next year, if we're going to get a cost of living raise. So then we know what kind of percent we can put into our salary base and go on from there. Just because they talk about it and say this is what we're going to get, sometimes isn't what happens in May and June when they leave. So we kind of have to be real careful on the budgeting part, but usually the last few years they've been really good at giving us a cost of living raise.
And I didn't mean to interrupt the vote.
No, that's okay,
Well,
no,
no.
just let the discussion
Sounds
begin.
like it was
Question, even if we're not trained as negotiators, as if, for instance, if Dawn wanted to come in and watch, can't even be in the room?
Yes,
We've got to be able.
you can't speak,
That's
it's a
not an open
public,
meeting?
it's a public meeting.
Okay, so he could come in and watch that as a board
It's a
member?
public
Okay.
meeting, they can have, you can't sit at the table.
Sure.
I'll just say that. But other teachers can come, people
Okay.
can come and sit, it's an open meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, the conversations that our board has are what we have in executive
Yes.
session.
right.
Yeah,
I just,
yeah.
if he wanted to see how the process worked,
Yes.
for
Yes.
instance, he's
Yes.
welcome to come in and watch that. So-
Absolutely,
So that next year, if he's interested in being on that team,
yes.
Or
We can
you.
sign you up.
Or if Terry wants to do it too. We'll go together.
There you
We'll
go.
watch together.
Teamwork.
Absolutely.
Any further questions?
Oh, did you not vote?
Not yet.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I've interrupted that.
no, that's great.
You want me to move
I
it
thought maybe
again?
you were volunteering, so.
You want me to move it again?
Nope, we're okay. Okay. So, the current motion is for Tina Ray Scott and Jamie Johnson to serve on the nominations committee, or negotiations committee, sorry.
Nominations.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, it does.
Still trying to get out.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. The next item on our agenda is that we have to vote to move the date of the April 24th meeting. The regular meeting, set by our resolutions that we affirm in July, has our meeting date on April 8th. However, Monday, April 8th is the date of the national convention, and KSB is actually going to be putting out information about this across the state so that boards can take action, and fortunately we can do it now, but February and March. The superintendent, myself, and Jamie will not be here for that meeting on April 8th. We will be out of state. So we can't have a meeting without us here, and to Zoom is pretty difficult. So we are asking for permission to move the meeting to the following Monday, which would be April 15th.
I'll move to approve the April meeting being moved from April 8th to April 15th.
A second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move the April 8th regular board meeting to April 15th. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now that we've done that, part of the January parts and pieces that go along with the legislature having moved the dates when new board members come in and when you're actually take your oath of office and you're seated, is that we have to do a reaffirmation of the resolutions, which are our meeting dates and our officer elections from July. So all that we do is reaffirm that information. That's why we had to move the April meeting date prior to reaffirming these so that we can denote that has happened. And again, this is just by state statute what we're required to do since they changed the election dates. So at this time, I am seeking a motion to reaffirm the resolutions passed at the July 2023 Board of Education regular meeting, which designated the July regular meeting as the date on which the USD 417 Board of Education schedules meetings for the following fiscal year and elects its officers.
I move to approve the reaffirmation of resolutions as read.
Second. It's been moved by Kelsey, seconded by Patty, to reaffirm the resolutions with the change for the April date. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, I do want to let everyone know that we will have some executive sessions and we do not plan on taking any action.
No action.
So those of you that are in the room or online can feel free to leave as needed.
Madam President, I move we go into executive session to discuss confidential student information pursuant to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom in 5 minutes with the board, Mr. Dornbos, Mrs. Gear, and Mrs. Meyer.
Second, I'm sorry. It's been moved and seconded that we go into a 5-minute executive session to discuss confidential student information pursuant to the exemption relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma with the board, Mrs. Meyer, Mr. Dornbos, and Mrs. Gear. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries and time will start once Mrs. Weeks leaves the room. And what we're going to do with that.
Madam President, I move we go into executive session to discuss an individual employee's performance pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under coma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom in 10 minutes with the board and Mrs. Meyer.
It's been moved by Jamie, seconded by Kelsey, that we go into an executive session for 10 minutes to discuss an individual employee's performance pursuant to the non-elected personnel exemption under coma with the board and Mrs. Meyer. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I move we adjourn, Madam President.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. We are adjourned. Our next regular board meeting will be on February 12th at 6 p.m. and we will start with an executive.
Name tags.
Wow.